Rigathi Gashagu has just said he has passed some comments to Raila in what he wants it to appear as if it is an advice. Rigathi claims that he once noticed Ruto pursuing Raila, and he asked Ruto what his game plan was, and he said that he wanted to scatter the ODM. Mr. Regardless then says, you can see what is happening. There are only 3 entities that can authoritatively talk about that meeting. Rigathi can authoritatively talk about it, Ruto can authoritatively talk about it, and the Almighty God can comment about that. But you'll find that as much as Rigathi is saying that they talked, Ruto will say it never happened. And of course, unless you are a saint or a prophet, it is not easy to get God's word from here. Mr. Regardless goes ahead and tells Raila, you see, just that one statement can make a thesis in reaction. First and foremost, talking after the fact, not only do people not believe you, but also what majority of those who heard this particular story do not believe Mr. Regardless. Before we address why majorities do not believe Mr. Regardless, at least on this particular story, let us look at a certain anchor first. Mr. Regardless as himself as the center of the universe. Everything he talks, he is the principal topic. And the subsidiary topic is Mlima. Every topic centers around him. He values himself above all else, including the country Kenya. Let us look at his latest comment. He tells Raila that it was me and Mrima. He tells Raila that if it was me and Mrima that Ruto conned, na tumesoma. That speaks volume. Let me repeat it in Kiswahili language. Kama ni mimi na Mrima tulidanganywa na huyo Kasongo, je wewe? Na tumesoma. In my own humble opinion, the last word is very weighty. Na tumesoma. It is quite unfortunate. Does it say, is it trying to mean that him and the Mrima people are the only people who are educated? Does it mean that other Kenyans, especially those from Raila's home ground, hawajasoma? Because he says, na tumesoma. That is a very unfortunate comment. Na tumesoma. Once upon a time, I used to work in those areas, a place called Nauyapong, which is 270 something, over 250 kilometers away from West Pokot, at the corner of Turkana, Pokot and Karamojong. That was 1983. Maybe 1983 is when you'd tell those 3, Turkanas, Pokots, and Karamojong, you'd say, na sisi tumesoma. But for Mr. Regardless to tell Raila that kama ni mimi na Mrima tumedanganywa na Kasongo, na tumesoma. Hiyo ni matusi mbaya sana. It means that he still has that mentality. Again, in every time Mr. Regales talks, I get the sense that he is still in denial. He is still in denial concerning his impeachment. If it is me whom Ruto tricked and Mrima, he's still talking about a regional area. I don't know. Maybe Kenya, we are supposed to be moving from regional thinking to national thinking. Who knows? We should even start thinking of regional coordination like East Africa. I'm reminding myself that just like the stroke that Matiba had in detention, disbelief played a leading role in Matiba's stroke. You see, Matiba, at one time, soon before he was detained, he believed that since Moi did not want to listen to people, he believed that he had a special effect on Moi to an extent that he was the only person who was brave enough to tell Moi. So when he was detained, the disbelief contributed a lot to his detention. So his quick admission while the impeachment was on could be genuine. You remember he was admitted to the hospital while the impeachment was on. Some people believed and still believe that it was a trick. Now, it is quite possible that it is true that he was not, it took him time to believe that he has been impeached. So maybe they're living in denial. Did you hear him when he said that he, together with Mrima, were conned by Ruto yet to Mesoma? I'm still emphasizing on that. Does he mean that non-Mrima and Raila people have not gone to Hawaja Soma? Does it mean that if he is conned by Ruto or anyone else, then it becomes a national issue? You see, all his complaints is because Ruto conned him. People blame me of repeating some things and whatever, but we have to emphasize. So his only anger is being conned. If he would not have been conned, all these things he would have not noticed. Or he has been noticing, but they have never been of interest to him. But because him and Mrima were conned, I've repeated and I'll still continue repeating. But most importantly, from his talking, is that if Ruto would not have conned him, then he would not be going around complaining. You know, yes, some of his advices, or even most, if not all, are good. But you see, we are trying to read it that if Ruto would not have conned him, if Ruto would not have conned Mrima, then he would not have complained. He would have let it go on. With the electors, from time immemorial, I got my ID early 1979. I got my ID in early 1979 when Moi opened all the IDs for pictures and women to get IDs. That is the time when I got my ID. So since the election of 1979, count all of them up to today, we the electors have a policy. And our policy is we milk politicians. We milk politicians as much as possible before the returning officer declares the results. kindly eat as much as possible before the returning officer gives you an eating suspension of 5 years. Once the returning officer has declared, irrespective of whether your candidate won or not, if he lost or if he won, you are going to fast for 5 years and then you start eating. So we as electors do eat before the returning officer declares the results. In the same manner, I would advise, and I think we would advise Mr. Regardless to know that if he did not eat that time, now he knows what he goes through. In the same meeting, Mr. Regardless says that his ambition is to, in the same meeting that he was saying that he was telling Raila at Ruto had said that he was going to scatter ODM into 360 directions. In the same meeting, he said that his ambition is to make Ruto a one-term leader, so as to let Ruto feel the pain of betrayal that he orchestrated for Mr. Regardless impeachment. There is nothing as good as understanding the motive of his doing so. His motive of replacing Ruto with any other president is none other than revenge. He says that Ruto organized for his impeachment, so he has to organize for Ruto to serve one term. It is not that Ruto is incompetent. It is not that Ruto is competent. It is because Ruto is the engine behind his impeachment. He wants Ruto to feel the way he felt. You know, he knew that he was to be the vice president or the deputy president up to 2027. But his dream was cut short. So he knows that Ruto's dream is to be the president up to 2032. So he wants Ruto to feel the pain of betrayal. It has nothing to do with whether Ruto has done or not done what he promised people. It has nothing to do with whether Ruto is fit or unfit to hold the office. No, it is because Ruto organized, orchestrated for his impeachment. That is why he has to put everything aside and make Ruto a one-term president. So all these plans have one thing in common: the sense of betrayal. A personal betrayal made a public discourse. Nowhere are we told by Gashagu of the promises that Ruto promised and did not fulfill. It would have made sense if Gashagu gave us a list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ruto told you he'll do this for you. He didn't do it. Ruto told you he'll do this. He has done 10%. The report form and says Ruto is getting, let's say, 15%. So there's no need of... No. It is that Ruto orchestrated for his impeachment, and he wants Ruto to feel how someone feels when he is impeached. In fact, the reduction in capitation from 22,000 to 16,000, a reduction of 6,000, is coming from everywhere except Gashagu. Everybody is complaining about the reduction in capitation, but Gashagu is not complaining that. Gashagu is not even using a God-given opportunity. You see, that is a chance that just came in your hand. And he should have been going down. He would have been going down telling poor people, you see, you used not to pay fees. Now you have every year you have to cough for 6,000. Now, if you have 3 kids, then you have to look for 20,000 per month, per year. Don't you think Ruto? No. He is going around telling people that don't vote for Ruto come 2027 because Ruto engineered my impeachment. He is advising Raila. Maybe, just maybe, he does not know Raila. I personally knew Raila when I was working with the special branch and went to Nyati House and read stories about Raila's life in committee. It's a long story. I have recorded a video about it. I recorded that video before the GNC. And the people turned against me and whatever. But I thank the GNC, whom I rarely praise. But GNC really did well. And even in some of their demonstrations said, kumbe huyu mzee alikuwa anasema ukweli kuhusu Raila. I want to be brief and say, Kenyans had an ability to study Raila in 1997. They didn't. Kenyans had an ability to study Raila in 2007. They didn't. Kenyans had an ability to study Raila in 2017. They didn't. Raila, in every circumstances, he comes out benefit. Kenyan governments since Moi, Kibaki, Uhuru, and now Ruto, they know that pacify Raila and you have pacified the nation. That is one about Raila. The second thing about Raila is he's bold. He goes where others don't go and is easily moved by the crowd. For example, if Raila is at Uhuru Park and the crowd say, let us walk to State House, Raila gets carried out by mob psychology and he goes to State House. In many cases, Raila gets himself into the deep mud before he realizes. And when Raila is in the deep mud, he finds himself with a handful of supporters. Not a handful, but a lot of supporters in the mud. But when he plans to untangle himself, the best person to ask is somebody called Miguna. Once Raila realizes that he is in the mud, he saves his own skin. And if you went to the mud with him, Miguna was in the airport saying, I am not boarding. So just know that if you join Raila in anything like that and things get hot, first of all, he minds about himself. Actually, let me say this way. Sorry, I have a sore throat with wet eyes, but anyway, kazi itaendelea. What usually happens is once Raila has found himself in the thick of things, Mama Ida usually goes into panic mood. And then she goes around and whatever. So things are then settled that Raila alone, the condition is usually Raila alone will be forgiven. Raila alone will get an envelope and Raila alone will be dealt with. So that is when you see Miguna shouting, I'm not boarding. Maybe he's a day scholar, because if you are not boarding, then you are a day scholar. Anyway, that's a joke. How many non-DCP people do believe that Mr. Regardless and President Ruto discussed about the topic of Ruto befriending Raila and dismantling ODM? What I'm trying to say here is, the Kikuyu say, there's a Kikuyu proverb which says, Henia ado anyu. Don't cheat us. I guess even majority of DCP people didn't believe him. On one hand, Mr. Regardless was saying that he had set traps all around State House. And if Raila is seen in the vicinity, he gets a call. And on the other hand, in such a plan, he is supposed to have been the last person to hear it. Because he said that he has set his spies to monitor. If Raila is seen anywhere near State House, a phone call is made to Mr. Regardless, and then he takes action. Which means, if you look at that side, one side of the coin, if you look at the other one, it means that if Raila has to go to State House or anything, and Mr. Regardless has already said that he will scuttle such a thing, then it would be, attempts would be made for him not to know. But then let us say that on that same first point first, is that don't you think that if that discussion was there and he asked maybe spies told him that Raila has been seen in the State House, and he asked Ruto, and Ruto maybe was reassuring him, and you know, at that time, what pleased Raila, what pleased Gashagu then most was that Raila should be. So he being told that just let him come, I'll dismantle his ODM. Don't you think that there is even that is a pre-unit, is it a playgroup thesis that can say that Ruto may have told him that to assure him that if you become aware that Raila is around, then know that the intention is to dismantle ODM. Now, if that thing happened, don't you think that there is a possibility that he was being told that to be reassured that Raila political life is going to be eliminated? The second last person to hear sorry, I have a running eye and I have a sore throat. I said the second last person to hear were his spies, because when they hear, then he'll be told. Those who, when they saw Raila around, they would ring him. What I'm trying to say is that him being the last person to hear, the second last person to hear must have been his spies. Of course, Raila eats, and Raila eats every time there is a crisis. That is, of course. Of course, there are documentary evidence that I talked about it earlier. And but anyway, I thank Kenyans. Kenyans have been are turning to me and saying, Mzee, you are telling the truth. And what I was taught in Special Branch, what I was taught in NIS is that, let me not judge you today, I mean using today's parameter for something, the wrong you did yesterday. Because yesterday parameters was not the same as today. So I carry myself to yesterday and place myself there. Like today, if you challenge me the way I was challenged when I exposed him, then maybe I can be annoyed. But when you come and tell me, Mzee, you are right, that time we were taking you to be wrong, but it has come to be proven that you are right and whatever, I understand. So, of course, Raila eats, and Raila eats every time there is a crisis. And most important, Raila eats everything alone. But did it ever occur to Gashagu that saying that tutafutie yeye kitu kidogo ale was meant to I mean, was the unwisest thing to say? Supposing, I'm just saying supposing. Sorry, I have sore throat and running eye. Supposing that Ruto really told Gashagu, supposing that Ruto really told Gashagu that tutatafutia yeye kitu kidogo ale, supposing it is true it was said. First of all, we have already seen that you can see the character of Gashagu, isn't it? Why didn't he say at that time? And you see Gashagu is taking his personal problem to his whatever, isn't it? But then, supposing that Ruto really told him tutatafutia kitu kidogo ale, was the most unwisest thing to say. In Kenya, if there is any politician who evokes emotion, raw emotion, is Raila. And again, if you want to unseat the president, why open so many enemies? Now saying that, saying such a thing about Raila, does it add any value to you? I don't see it adding. There are some things where it adds, let's say, 1 point. I have a running eye and sore throat. I want to say this. There are those things that a point which you gain 1 point and lose 1,000. But saying such a thing that tutatafutia kitu kidogo ale doesn't add even 1, but reduces thousands and thousands of points. Why? Why? I would not even expect a Kapsea candidate to think so. Ruto, according to Mr. Regardless, he was pleading with Raila, but at the back of his head, you are next. You should learn from Ruto. You know, at that time, when Ruto is alleged to have told Rigathi Gashagu that, he was plotting against Raila, isn't it? Let us assume that you are telling the truth. He was plotting with you to finish Raila. But at the back of his head, you are next. That is how things happen. You don't fight many people at a go. You should have fought Ruto first. After demolishing Ruto, then you'd have fought Raila. Now you are fighting Raila just with one stone. You are saying Ruto is going against Raila, and then you are saying that Ruto had said tutampatia kitu kidogo akule. I think with people, a person like Mr. Regardless, he does not need enemies. He already is his own worst enemy. The way Mr. Regardless is referring to Nadiko, he says that he was told by Mr. Ruto, President Ruto, that forget about Nadiko. It is just something that we are buying time and whatever. And then he goes, I don't know. I'm told he studied political science. If that is what they teach in the University for Political Science, then I would advise somebody not to study political science. Because here you are telling us that Ruto told you that Nadiko will go nowhere. It is something that is big, and you went along with it. You see them. Waswahili wanasema nini? Ukionyesha kidole kimoja, vidole ngapi vinakuonyesha wewe? Vidole kadhaa vinakuonyesha wewe, sio? You are forgetting that. But you are telling us that at the same time, you are telling us that Ruto was telling you that he's doing nothing about Nadiko. To you, you saw no need of addressing the issue of Nadiko because that time you are in power. Now you are addressing the issue of Nadiko. But most important is, are you telling us we just forget Nadiko and move on? Because Ruto told you that Nadiko was nothing. It was just there to pacify Raila, and that Ishungwa and others will take care of it. So, why then did you keep quiet about Nadiko at that time? Lastly, and this is my message to Ruto. Now it is my message to President Ruto. For umpteenth time, Allow your advisors a free hand to tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. I want to correct myself. First of all, there are leaders who tell their advisors to tell them what they need to hear. And there are leaders who tell their advisors to tell them what they want to hear. But Ruto is unique. Ruto is unique in that he tells his advisors to tell him what he wants to hear. But anyway, let me talk about other people because Ruto is unique. Please allow your advisors a free hand to tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. Out of the 1,000 things that you need to hear is this one. I have 1,000 things to say, and I can take a year covering each topic a day. First of all, ignore Mr. Regardless. He is his worst enemy. With a competitor like Mr. Rigathi Gashagu, he does not need somebody to check on him. He checks on himself. Anytime Gashagu talks, he chimbers his own kaburi with kiburi. Every time he talks, he chimbers his own kaburi with his kiburi. Some of you same to you. How did you get all these names? All the nicknames that you get, almost all, it is because of you. El Chapo you came up with because of promising 1 million chapatis machine. That is how you got the name El Chapo. I'm also annoyed with you for grabbing my name because I was named after my grandfather, JI-TENGE, James Kwatenge. James Kwatenge is, if you reduce it, it becomes Jimmy Tenge or JI-TENGE. Sasa wewe umekuja umechukua jina yangu umeanza kutenga kila kitu. Hey, I'll sue you for that. So most of you are just like Mr. Gashagu, you are also your worst enemy. Every time you talk, you chimber your own kaburi. Why do I say so? I say so because like the other time when you there are so many examples. Sorry, my health is not good. Every time you talk, you chimber your own kaburi with your kiburi. When you came up with maneno ya kutenga, yeah, I've remembered when you came up with the idea of shoot that person on the leg. Was it necessary for you to say the police should shoot in the leg? It was not necessary. Why? Because one thing, starting from November 1982 to May 1983, I was taught as a recruit the justifiable instances of gun use. And that time in 1983, before May 83, we were told that once you use a firearm under these conditions, then the law covers you. There was no need of your minister going to tell the police, ati akikuja kwa police station, shoot. And you saying, shoot the leg. Mr. President, I'll tell you about shoot the leg. I have been almost to all the internal Kenya police schools. I've been to Kiganja, I've been to GSU Magadi, I've been to CID, I've been everywhere. And I've handled firearms. Mr. President, for someone to use a firearm, the chest area, is it called the torso, is the surest way you can get your target. But telling somebody to shoot the leg, the size of the leg is very little. Supposing one person is wrong and he's standing in front of other people, you try to shoot the leg and miss. And in Kiganjo they teach, instead of harming one innocent person, it is better to let a known murderer escape. If at all, one person will be harmed, not even killed. The important thing is not to arrest the criminal, but the safety of an innocent person is more interesting. Now, telling somebody to shoot the leg, chances of missing are very, very high. And I can tell you that the legs, the thigh area, you don't shoot somebody in the thigh area and expect you have shot in a very good place. It is as good as shooting the heart. I was in Nairobi Technical, so I didn't do biology. But one of the blood vessels, one of the biggest blood vessels, I think, is on the thigh area. So you shoot that place. If there is no action, and we have these police officers who run away from, like the ones who shot Boniface Mwangi. They ran away from the scene. You have killed the person. So I would just say that the best way, Mr. President, just avoid public speeches. Most of the things, now people are talking of Anguka Nae, Mapangale. Now they are even talking of one leg, because they say one leg has been shot. Mr. President, every time you talk, you give the youth something to mock you with. We go back to Mr. Regardless. As for Mr. Regardless, you can see nobody trusts the observation that I have just said. Gene C in the US asked him to be national and not be tribal. As I said, Mr. President, if you leave, if everything that Mr. Rigathi Gachagua talks, you have to respond, you are giving the young generation topics to talk about. They had not even exhausted the name El Chapo. You come up and say, piga ye risasi mguu. Then they have come up with one leg. Because if you shoot somebody in one leg, he becomes one leg. Be presidential in your presentation. I remember one time, before the 1992, the late Joseph Martin Shikuku expressed his need to be the president. And people said, since his love for demonstrations are known, then when people are demonstrating, most likely he will also start demonstrating. He'll get out of State House and join the demonstrators, forgetting that he's one of them. Please, act presidential. I know advising an addict is a very hard thing. Advising an addict is a very hard thing. Of course, I used to be, many decades ago, I used to be an alcoholic addict. Many decades ago, I stopped drinking. I know of many alcoholic addicts also who stopped drinking. And I can tell you that changing an addict to stopping what you want him to stop is really hard. Trying to tell the president to avoid, I remember there was even a public meeting, an interview. I think it was JK Live, when Koinange asked Murkomen about the president, and he said, you see, I think Murkomen was very bold, of which I thank him, is that he told Jeff Koinange that those who are close to the president know that it is quite a task telling the president not to address a gathering. It is just like somebody, a recovering alcoholic, telling a recovering alcoholic that when he has gone to what we call a function, where there is free alcohol, telling him not to test the alcohol. But kama tuliweza, si hata mtu yote anaweza.